Well, guys, here we are. Welcome to day one of the challenge. And look, I've started with the most important thing that I believe in terms of what we need to change when it comes to impacting upon our body, in terms of reducing fat, building muscle, whatever it is that you would like to achieve. It's got to start with the secondary pillar. The first one of the secondary pillars is mentality. Now, the reason that we start this is because realistically, what I see in this industry is that you have personal trainers that kind of do nutrition and do exercise, but fundamentally, these are cosmetic changes that are happening on the outside. You know, think about it. To truly transform, when you think about maybe something in your life that you've done before, was it a career change? Was it, was it becoming a better lover? Was it becoming, upgraded in terms of your business life? Something you did in your personal career? Did that come from a purely physical change, or did some transformation happen up here between your two ears? You see, the power of the mind is unbelievable. Did you know, for example, that around 95% of our daily actions are actually habits? They're habitual. They come from the subconscious mind, and we do not even think about doing them. And they're automatic processes. So unless we actually go to the operating system up here and start to change things, you know what? Unfortunately, and this is why diets don't work, and plans that do not incorporate any mental change don't work, is because unless you change up here, unless you start to occupy the position of becoming the person that you want to be, becoming that ideal character, becoming that new personality, unless that change happens, all these surface level changes are just band-aid solutions. Okay, we need to go to the core of the problem. Okay, and it's buried deep in our subconscious. It concerns our self-image, how we feel about ourselves. And I can promise you that if we manage to change that and evolve that over time, it does take a while, but with repetition and repetition of the good stuff, guess what? You're going to become that ideal person that you're after, someone who acts, who just resonates as the person that they want to be, rather than going around and kind of masquerading as this person that's making healthy changes, but realistically, you're always going to fall back into bad practices. So let's get into today's session. Okay guys, so here we are, and you can see here on the side, this is the fat loss 4. I've put this diagram together to basically illustrate the difference between the primary pillars and the secondary pillars. So we're going to be focusing on mentality, as I mentioned. So look, I think this is a really good diagram or good image to help you understand just the amount of information and decision making that's happening below the surface of your conscious awareness. So the subconscious mind has been described with the analogy of an iceberg, okay? So you think about when the Titanic hit the iceberg, that happened because the vast majority of the iceberg lays below the surface of the water. So the ship didn't see that iceberg, didn't see itself approaching that iceberg. Well, in the same way, this analogy is used to describe the mind. Around 5 to 10% of our conscious thinking happens above in the conscious mind, where our level of awareness is there. So that might be something like, you know what, I feel like KFC. Okay, if you're making a conscious choice about that, great, that's fine. But the problem is the vast majority of the choices that we make are happening without our awareness. They're happening by automation. So it makes sense then, right, that if we could get greater control over what we do on a daily basis, we're going to be better equipped to be able to control and manage our weight and our transformation of our body, right? Does that make sense? So what we need to do is our first step in any change is to increase our level of awareness. This is so important. I want you to think about awareness like a torch, and we shine that torch into a dark room, and what it does is illuminates everywhere that we didn't actually know existed. It shines light on the darkness, and that's what we need to do when it comes to health. You see, in my coaching, what I do, what my strategy is to talk to my men and get them to become more aware of the actions they're taking. Rather than just hammering home a point, you need to eat this, you need to eat that. You need to start instead asking yourself questions. Why do I drink? Why is it that I'm inactive? Why is it that I'm stressed? Why is it that I'm so reactive? Why is it that I'm not sleeping? And by asking those questions to yourself, guess what happens? That light of awareness starts to shine in, and you become more able to pull on a few different levers to be able to transform your body and to be able to change your weight. You see, what happens as illustrated in this diagram here is we have an autopilot, and the job of the autopilot, which is in our mind, the job of the autopilot is really just to do the exact same thing as an autopilot does on a plane. So think about how that works. A plane's going from Los Angeles, USA to Sydney, Australia. Do you know that that plane is off course 95% of the time? But it always arrives in Sydney, if that was its intended goal. How does that happen? Well, because the autopilot senses that it's off course, and it eventually says, okay, bang, bang, get back on course, and makes little tiny tweaks to the trajectory of the aircraft, and gets it back on track, and it eventually arrives. Now, you have an autopilot, and my question is really to you, is your autopilot set to a destination that you want to be going to? Now, this image really represents why all diets fail unless they address the mental element. And this is why my clients are so successful. So what happens here is you decide to go on this latest keto diet, and guess what? You start to lift, you start to exercise, you start to do boxing, and you're feeling great, and changes are starting to happen. In fact, you get on a path to your ideal destination and you start to feel great. This happens multiple times in a person's life where they want to make change and they start to head to that direction that they love and they feel great. They've cut out chocolate, they've cut out cake, they've cut out everything. It's cut. And guess what? They're down to burning up lots of calories and not taking as many in. Do you think they're going to lose weight? Of course they do. But what happens is sometime during that next 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and you're all very familiar with it because it happens to all of us, is our autopilot kicks in. Now, our autopilot is buried deep in our subconscious, and it involves our self-image. And our autopilot says, hey, Johnny, come on, man. Who are you kidding? Why are you going to the gym, right? You're never going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Or you're never going to be able to keep this diet up for life. Why don't you just have some cake? Why don't you just have some chocolate? Why don't you just have a day off? And guess what it does? The body's autopilot puts it back on course to destination fat man. And all of that weight that you lost, guess what? You gain it back. And this is my problem when it comes to things like shake diets, for example. Unless any change happens up here, the moment that that man starts to eat normal food again, he's going to put it all back on. Now, the key to this challenge and to your transformation, whether you're doing it alone or you're doing it with me, it's gonna be making the change up here and resetting your autopilot to a destination that is favorable for you. Okay? Where is your autopilot currently set? If it's a destination that you don't want to be, you need to change that. And there are some techniques that I can share with you at the end. So here's the thing. you need to be very careful of what you feed your mind with. The self-image has really happened over a period of time, and it started at birth, and it's the reason why you are very much like your parents. If your parents struggled with money, you likely struggle with money. For me, my dad was a really, really hard worker. So central to my personality is that you've got to work hard to get along. So have a think for a moment. What traits do you share with your parents? That's come because you were born with the genetics and the environmental conditioning that created your self-image over time through exposure to that same repetitious information. Now, equally, what type of crowd are you currently in? If you're in a crowd that is really active, do you think you're going to be more fitter and healthier and of a better weight? Absolutely you are, because your self-image, your autopilot gets fed by that type of information. Now, you've got to be very careful of the type of information you feed it. I think there's a really important point here is that in any health change, you've got to be careful that you are not just doing the thing, but you're being the thing. Now, I'll give you some examples, okay? I know when someone is seriously going to give up smoking forever. Here's how. They say, I am now a non-smoker. That's their identity. Does this make sense, guys? That becomes their identity. Whereas someone who is inevitably going to relapse keeps telling you, hey, I'm 2 weeks without smoking, I'm 2 months without smoking. So all of they've done is they've restricted the behavior, but they haven't changed their identity. And this is key for you, man. What you need to do is stop saying, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to go on a weight loss diet and I'm going to start going to the gym and I'm going to start doing A, B, C, or whatever it is. You need to start thinking, I am healthy. That's me. That's my new identity. That's my personality. And you know what? At the start, it's going to feel slightly fake, but you need to continue to feed your mind with this. I am healthy. I am energetic. I am happy. And when you start to feed your mind with that, you are changing your identity and resetting your autopilot's destination so that in 2 months, 3 months, 4 years, 5 years, when it corrects, when you have a little bit of a fall off the wagon, guess what? Your autopilot corrects to the identity that you now are. A non-smoker, a healthy guy, a gym goer, a great lover, a financially wealthy person, whatever it is for you that you want to change. So I think this is a really, really good point. A lot of people think that the people that make it in creating the body that they want, it all comes down to them being so mentally tough. Jace, people say to me, why do you train so much? How do you do it? Like, how do you get up in the morning and do it? It's not through my willpower. I still get up in the morning some days and just be like, oh man, I just want to stay in bed. The difference is I understand that it's habit. It's habit. I've created the habit. Don't think for a moment that all these guys that you see on Instagram that are flexing and doing this stuff, they don't love getting up and doing that stuff, but they do it out of habit. And for you, man, what you need to do is start forming these habits. And over time, what happens is when you have these small little wins, they accumulate. And eventually, you start to prove to yourself every day that you can be the person that you are aiming to be, that ideal self. It doesn't come through willpower. Willpower is never there when you need it. It's habit. So at the start, when you're making these changes, it's just about getting in the motion. We don't want to go out and say, I'm going to go to the gym 17 times a week. That's not going to work. What is going to work is getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, forming that habit, proving to yourself that you can be that person, just going for a walk. Then what the next habit is going to be maybe eating a healthy breakfast and doing away with the morning meat pies, right? Whatever the thing is for you, you need to create a habit, and I need you to understand that it doesn't come through willpower. It comes through repetition of the good stuff. And we're going to talk about a few of those habits in this challenge. Now, I've got 2 powerful skills for you, and we're getting to the end of today's challenge video. I've got 2 powerful skills for you: visualization and affirmation. Let me tell you how they both work. So I want you to close your eyes for a minute, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I want you to think about your life in your ideal body, right? So close your eyes and literally do it with me. I want you to think about, what does it feel like? So you've got to your goal weight and people are commenting. They're saying, man, you look good. How did you achieve it? You must be so disciplined. And people are saying to you, dude, like, you're setting such a good role model for your family now. Visualize that. And we're not doing it in some crazy spiritual way. You can open your eyes and have a think about it. One of my mates said to me once, he said, do you know what? Every masterpiece is in fact a fake. It's a copy. And he referred to the Mona Lisa. And he said to me, you know what? The Mona Lisa is a fake. I said, what is this guy talking about? And he said, well, the first version of that painting was done in the artist's mind. Think about that. In order to create a house that you want, you've first got to be able to create it in your mind, right? Then you build the house. It's a replica. In order for you to be able to create the body that you want, you need to visualize your identity. You need to visualize being that body. You can't just go out and aimlessly try to create something that you have no idea what it looks and feels like. Man, I challenge you to visualize how you look, how you would feel, what people would say. That is going to crystallize in your mind. Now, the next thing that I want to tell you about is affirmation. Affirmations have this kind of hippie vibe to them, but I'm going to share with you a story that I used to conquer my greatest fear, which was skydiving. And I used affirmations to get me there. Affirmations are effectively instructions to the subconscious mind, telling the mind about the identity that you are. Okay? So one of the steps that I teach my guys in my coaching is that you need to crystallize this image in your mind of what you are. I am healthy. I am of a great weight. I am an active guy. I'm an energetic guy. I am the perfect dad. I am a great lover. Whatever it is for you, and you need to hammer that home multiple times. And if you do not believe me, look no further than Muhammad Ali, which is why the image is here, or someone like Conor McGregor, who he was homeless years ago, but he was telling everyone that he was a world champion. When you think of Muhammad Ali, what happens? I am the greatest. That's an affirmation which, if repeated time and time and time again, countless times, you convince your mind that you become that person. So this is the final slide that I want to share with you. I was petrified of heights. I cannot tell you, I was the bag holder. But what I realized is that it was hypocritical for me to be a coach and get guys like you to run at your fears unless I was willing to run at my fears. I felt like an absolute fake and a hypocrite. It took me 2 years, but every morning I got up and repeated to myself 50 times an affirmation that changed everything for me. I'm a skydiver. I'm a skydiver. I love heights. I'm challenged by heights. I get a thrill of heights. I'm a skydiver, and I repeated it over and over and over again. And then one morning, after procrastinating this for probably 15 years, I got up and threw myself out of a plane, hurtling down to the ground at over 300 kilometers an hour, and it was thrilling. And I looked back, nothing changed other than the environment up here. And the same can be true for you. So here's what I want you to do for the first challenge action, okay? The first instant action. I want you to have a think about what your affirmation should be. Who is the ideal character that you want to become? Don't shirk on this challenge. I want you to post your I am affirmation on the group and choose 3. So there might be, I am healthy, I am a great dad, and I am energetic. It might be, I am happy, I am healthy, and I have a great body. You need to occupy the space. Start with I am. And I want you to post them on the group. I want you to publicly state them. State the person that you want to become. Not, I want to become this person, I am this person. Start changing your identity now. Claim ownership. The second part of the challenge is that I want you to start repeating that to yourself every single day, a minimum of 20 times a day. Every time, when you're in the car, I am happy, I am healthy, I am a great body. I cannot tell you how potent this activity is in beginning to change into that ideal character you want to become that's going to be able to support the changes that you're making in your nutrition and your exercise. But it starts with a change up here. So that's a wrap for today, guys. I hope this video helped. If you've got any questions, please ask me on the group. And if you do want to proceed straight into an audition call where we consider working together, you can hit the button below and you'll go into my scheduler where we can chat more on a one-to-one basis and really just suss out where I think I can help you in a more committed, detailed fashion. But that's a wrap for today, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on day 2.